Welcome, welcome, and welcome to Developing a Wealth Consciousness in Your Marriage. My name is Atiya, the founder of the Marriage Tree, the place where we help men, women, and couples discover their own truth for a better marriage and relationship. In this message, I would like to briefly talk about one of the keys to a healthy marriage, and that is the characteristic of fiscal responsibility. Now, many marriages, especially those that are just starting out, are often confronted with not having the sort of finances the couple desires in order to do the things they want to do. However, this is not necessarily a bad thing, though, because it creates an opportunity for you and your mate to bond by working together to build something of consequence. Now, while you might come into the marital dynamic financially sound, you may not always be aware of the financial acumen of your mate. Nonetheless, it's important to talk about. It's an important topic for discussion. So again, one of the success keys to a healthy marriage is the characteristic of fiscal responsibility. Fiscal refers to general financial matters, which transcends money. I want to say that again. Fiscal refers to general financial matters which transcend money. Now, there is a saying that slow and steady wins the race, but I want to put that in the context of how couples utilize their resources. See, every family must have certain things in place to effectively keep the engines going. As with putting gas in your car, ideally, we would like to get more miles to the gallon, right? Now, when couples sit down and look at what they have to pay out versus what they bring in, if the ends don't meet, often many will find ways to either cut some expenses like cable television or consider additional ways to bring in more revenue, and you yourself probably do the same. Both are very important in financial planning. However, how often do couples assess the way they use household items and the portions divvied out when using them? Think about it for a moment. How often do you assess it? Now, consider this. In restaurants, hotels, salons, and other places of business, there are rules and principles in place to allot a certain amount of product to, for instance, make a cup of coffee or wash a load of towels. Even when baking a cake at home, we will stick close to the amount of flour or sugar that the recipe calls for to ensure that the cake comes out right. Now, if a cake recipe only requires 1 1/4 cup of flour, would you put 4 cups of flour to it? No, you wouldn't, because you know it would not end up the way it should. Well, the same is true with how a family uses all of its everyday resources. You know that if you put 4 cups of flour in the recipe that calls for 1 1/4 cups, you know that the cake would visibly be ruined and it would be very clear to see that too much flour was added. Yet it's not always as clear to see when we squander or waste most other household products. But it is important to take note of the small things such as this, because in the bigger picture, it impacts our ability or our overall ability to function effectively as a unit and to actually get ahead. So while some people might think this is something trivial to pay attention to or discuss, it's actually very, very important. Consider this. When washing the dinner dishes, would you use half the dish detergent bottle at one time? Would you pour the whole bottle of bleach in the wash for just one load of sheets? Would you allow your children to go outside and play in the grass with their Sunday church clothes on? Would you put gas in your car, drive it to work, and then keep the engine running while you are inside working? Most people would probably most likely say absolutely not to the above 4 questions. However, believe it or not, just as many might say yes, they have actually done at least 2 of the above things. Now, usually the couples who say yes are also most likely those who are trying to figure out how to make things financially better in their home. See, fiscal responsibility starts out with the small stuff. It begins with a couple taking care of how they use what they have, no matter how small or minute it might appear to be. Everything in your sphere of responsibility is part of your inventory. And a company does not only count how much money they bring in or how much they spend, they also look at what they have and make sure that they are appropriately allocating their on-hand resources, because in the long run, doing so saves time and money. So if you want to increase the success in your life and your marriage, and if you want increase in your life and relationship, become a faithful steward over your current resources, no matter how little they might be. The first step is to appropriately utilize what you have. Wealth building and financial stability, as with anything else, operates according to a law. And as the saying goes, those who are faithful over little will be made masters over much. So thank you for listening to Developing a Wealth Consciousness in Your Marriage, and I look forward to talking with you next time. Have a good day.